Well, we're blessed to have Randy Harrington back with us again. And I can attest to the readability of his book that he's going to reference a bit in his comments today. Slammed, because I have been feeling slammed myself. And I want to say that I have personally experienced the physical manifestation of such in the past few weeks due to many factors, which includes the grief over the passing of my dad just recently. And so I've been unfocused, I've been experiencing vertigo, and I'm simply not myself. And there was no rhythm of business, and Randy might reference that in his book, for me personally. And my health suffered, so causing me to take some unscheduled days off this week, as a matter of fact. And forced rest does not come easily for me, as my staff knows. And I have to say thank you to the staff, because they really stepped up and they supported me, as does the board leadership during this time. And they all just continue to do what they do best, which is serve the community. So I want to say, if you experience any of those symptoms I just described, this presentation may be just what you need to hear. So let me read Randy's bio and invite him up. Randy Harrington is the CEO and owner of Extreme Arts and Sciences and co-founder of owner of Strategic Arts, I just repeated myself, Best Practices Media. No nonsense and razor sharp, Harrington holds a doctorate from the University of Oregon in organizational communication. With a natural gift for quickly assessing complex problems, Harrington consults with clients to find practical, high-impact solutions. In his 24 years of experience, Dr. Harrington has become one of the premier consultants to financial institutions in the U.S. He is a sought-after strategic planner, executive coach, and guide for organizational change, management, and media messaging. He's the co-author of Slammed, Succeeding in a World of Too Busy, and also the book Evolutionaries, Transformational Leadership, the Missing Link in Your Organizational Chart. His theories on the effectiveness of high-impact teams and communication push clients like Microsoft, Bluetooth SIG Incorporated, and the United Nations to work smarter and more efficiently. He keeps things interesting through his diverse work with clients in multiple industries, including healthcare, financial services, technology, travel and tourism, to name just a few. He's an avid guitarist, cook, and scuba diver. He makes his home in Eugene, Oregon with his wife, Patty. So please welcome back, by popular demand, Dr. Randy Harrington.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, she's a wonder, isn't she? Give her a hand. I mean, the fact that you're all here doing all of this, I've been able to connect with a number of you over the last day, and what a delight. Southern Oregon's kicking butt. That's my feeling about it. I mean, it was really true. I mean, I have to tell you, I was here, I've been up and down I-5, and I remember meetings in Grants Pass and others, and there were times, and it's true, it was like Eeyore. We came down here, how you doing in Grants Pass? We're doing fine, It kind of sucks, but we're doing okay. And now I come down here, and it's like, dun-da-da, welcome to Southern Oregon, here we go. And the other thing I see is I've been in all these meetings up in Portland, mostly associated with travel and tourism, and Southern Oregon comes in now like gunslingers, man. It's like, we're here. Southern Oregon is at the table, and we will not be denied again. And it's like, whoa, the whole state is sort of looking over here and going, dang, this is serious business. So congratulations. I felt like the potential for Southern Oregon has always been there in a big way, and now it's just really starting to churn. And I'm going to make a prediction right now that I'm going to say 2021, 22, you guys are going to be going, holy crap, we're too successful here. We've got too many people. Now, go away. Leave. Go away. This is nice here. You have we're seeing this in Eugene a bit now. I live in Eugene because I can't handle Seattle. And I can't handle Seattle because there's people in Seattle, a lot of them. And I go to Eugene and it's like traffic is like there's a stoplight. That's my kind of traffic, But it's going to grow. It's going to get bigger. All right, we're going to rock. We're going to go forward here and jump in. Yeah, name of the book is Slammed. It's selling pretty well. You know, when you write books these days, you don't actually make any money off of the books. I actually don't know why you do it. I have to think about that. But it's interesting because this one is selling much better than the first one. This is about half as long as the first one. I think the shortness of the book is a part of it. And then if you go on Amazon to look for the book and you type in Slammed and you type my name, you will actually get two books that appear in the search engine. One will be My Happy Book, and then the other is a soft porn book called Slammed. And when we did the research to find out, you know, we looked at all the business titles, and we were delighted. It was like, hey, Slammed is a perfectly available title in the business books. This is great. Never occurred to me to look in porn, for example. But we thought about bundling them and just to see what that would do for sales. That way, when it comes to your house, you'd be like, I don't know, it was a bundle, dear, I'm sorry. This is the way this works. With Amazon, you never know. Got to lose my shoes, you know that. That means we're starting to get going. So where did Slammed come from? Real briefly, Slammed came from an experience that me and a couple other consultants had when we were working at Microsoft. And Microsoft, if you've ever worked with them or been on the campus in Redmond, you know it's just a strange kind of madness. I mean, people that are getting out of their $100,000 Audi and they're wearing ragged jeans that cost $400 and T-shirts that are cut a little bit up here that cost $600, and they can all tell immediately, yes, you have, oh, those are very nice crappy clothes that you're wearing. Those are outstanding crappy clothes. I was with a guy who wore a suit, and everybody was like, who's the lawyer? Who's the Fed? Who's the lawyer? I mean, you just don't ever do that. Ties are just not happening. I'm digging all the ties down here. I won't wear one, but I was really impressed with everybody in their ties. But up there, you don't do that. So we're up at Microsoft, and we had a big book of business, and we had a lot of stuff to do, and we were serving about a half a dozen different executives. And we had to get a bunch of signatures and approvals, and they had to agree to some things, and we kept going back again and again and again. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, you can't see him, he's too busy. And then we looked on one guy's door, and it said, do not knock, call, or enter. Slammed is written on the door. He's slammed. He won't talk to anybody when he's slammed. I was like, wow. And then we go down the hall, and the next person, oh, there that said heads down. That was the other phrase. We're heads down. We're all heads down in this division. I don't know what that means. It's just your heads down. It means you're locked into something. You're sort of doing something. And so we started really looking at this kind of slammed phenomenon, trying to understand what it was. So we talked to about 50 executives in high tech mostly, and then we also went to banking. And then we went to healthcare, and we talked to a bunch of folks. And so we're so stupid. Carmen and I, props to Carmen Volake, the smart one of the two of us. She's an amazing woman, lives up in Portland, and a terrific consultant, a brilliant woman. Anyway, Carmen and I we set out to write a solution to being slammed, and boy, was that just fool's errand, if ever there was. Because when we really started digging into it, we found out that it was an extremely complicated subject, and away we go. So we're diving in now. Okay, so the very first experience that comes up when we talk about what it means to be slammed, this is a phrase that actually comes to us from SEAL teams, and we'll be talking about SEALs a little bit in the presentation today. It's kind of interesting that they have snuck into our conversation. It's the way they are, though. And this is one of their terms. They talk about one of the biggest threats to team is task saturation. And task saturation is a very specific experience for them. It means you are completely, totally focused on just getting crap done. And so you know you are task saturated when you come home from work and your significant other says, how was your day? And you say, I don't even know. What did you do? I got through my inbox. The day is mine. You know, you just feel drunk with power because you answered your stinking email, you know? Now, I'm going to make a bet with you right now, and this is a test to see if you are, in fact, task saturated. You guys came to this thing, and all of us are in agreement right now. So far, up to this point in the speakers anyway, speakers have been awesome. I mean, mind blown again and again. Great. So it's like you're happy to be here, right? But you know when you left to come here, it's like, oh, God, I'm going to be in a room for like 4 hours, and my email, I can feel it. Do you feel it chime in your, like, ding, ding, ding? You know, so I've got mine right now, ding, oh, you know, and you know. It's just like, oh, my God, I've got 700 emails that I'm going to get when I come out of here. I'm paying a ridiculously high price to be here right now. It's crazy because you're happy to be here, but at the same time, you're paying a price, probably because you are task-saturated. When you are task-saturated, you stop doing healthy things. When you're task-saturated, you move out of what the leadership literature calls flow. And when you move out of flow, you do bad stuff. You start justifying all kinds of terrible things. You start eating while you're working because you deserve it. By God, you deserve it. I don't get anything. I haven't taken lunch in 9 weeks, so I'm going to just feed myself constantly here. I'm going to have more expensive lattes than I deserve because I deserve it, and I will challenge anybody to say that I don't. And then you stop sleeping and you stop exercising. Whereas when you're in flow, when there is a relationship between the capability that you bring to the workspace and the challenge that you face. When you have the capability to face the challenge, ding, you're in a happy place. Everything's cooking with gas. You're feeling good. You're in flow. Hey, I know how to do my job, and I'm doing my job. Hey, it's like I installed automatic teller machines into a drive-through window way back in the day in another career, and it was operated entirely by women, which there's a reason for that, I think. I'm not going to get into the gender issue there, but there were 4 women operating, I want to say 4 or 6 drive-through banking lanes. And they were like Benihana chefs. You know, they're just going, and the drawers are flying, and the money's going, and they're being nice. Oh, dog biscuit. You know, there we go. And they're like, oh, hey, how are you? And they're like, their arms are going like this, and they're, hi, yes, good to see you. I was like, good God. And then the next person would come in, and they would actually tag in. Oh, and then the person would say, hi. And so it would just go, you know. It was like, God dang. And I would say, are you guys having fun? He goes, oh, we love this. Do you like it when it's busy or do you like it when it's slow? The answer was busy, 100%. They love it when it was game on. Let's get it done. Let's rock. Let's go. They hated it when it was slow. That's because they had the capability. They were in flow. When they're in flow, they're going to go home, and you know what they're going to do? Work on their abs. I guarantee it. They're going to go home, because they were in flow. They leave with energy at the end of the day. If you're not working on your abs, you're not in flow. I have one good ab. I'm staying focused. So what happens when you are in flow is you have all this energy in production. When you are out of flow, all of a sudden things get very bad. And I remember just even thinking, good God, if I was working in that teller line, it would be horrible because it would be, I have no capability to do it. So it'd be like, excuse me, right, red Volkswagen. Hey, yeah, okay. Would you give $10 that I just gave you to the guy, a Toyota guy? Yeah, he's the guy, right, he's got your money. You two work that out if you would. I've got about 20 IDs here. I'm just going to shoot these on the ground, and if you guys would come up and... Wouldn't go so well. So one of the first things that we have to beat when we start talking about the beginnings of slammed is to start detecting when you become task-saturated. And you become task-saturated when you start saying to yourself, there's no end to this. As soon as you start feeling a sense of hopelessness creep into your work life. And then you begin to see some of these other things that really start to show up. The endlessness of it begins to happen. But what's most important is you start zooming in on time. all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, if I can just get through Friday. Have you had that conversation with yourself? I just need to get through Friday. Don't talk to me till Friday and I'll be fine. Everything is going to be okay if it's Friday. When Friday, I'm going to just freak out. I'm going to go home and I'm going to party like a crazy person, drink myself, and then I'm going to and run around. Never works, though. Friday, you're so beat, you're just bitter. You go home, don't even talk to me. I'm just going to be bitter. And what ends up occurring through task saturation is the culture begins, and ironically, the very culture that probably caused the task saturation in the first place is now informed by the task saturation. And it's what a psychologist named R.D. Laing called a classic spiral of reciprocating perspectives. Woo! How's that? Spiral of reciprocating perspectives. And what that is if I think, you think I'm an idiot, all right? Then I begin to act like, well, he thinks I'm an idiot, so I'm going to prove to him I'm not an idiot. I'm going to come and I'm going to show him sources for everything I say. And then he's going to go, why does the guy show me sources all the time? What an idiot, you know? And so this is how spirals of reciprocating perspectives work. If you've been married for 4 minutes, you have been in a spiral of reciprocating perspectives. What I'm telling you is that when behavior happens, it creates dynamics and cycles and spirals. And that was bingo, man, right there. I mean, I was head exploding, brain stem happiness was going on because you were explaining so much of what I see in an organization happening. Now, this is another symptom of being slammed. This is actual statements from actual CEOs. At their request, I didn't put their name up. Strategy's overrated in this day and time. These days, it's really about just hanging in there. It's really all it's about. That's the way he said it. You know, I'm not worried about strategy. You just got to hang in there. Brilliant. Just absolutely. We just got to outlast them. What movie did you just watch? You know, what happened? Ben-Hur? What was this about? And then, you know, we don't have the capacity to make changes anyway. And this is the real rub. So if we had to look at the organizational chiropractic moment that comes out of slammed, it is this. Tell me if this is not true. Your business is running okay right now. Could be more efficient, could be better, could be whatever, but it's not on fire. But in your gut, you know, over the next 3, 5, 2, 10 years, whatever the number is irrelevant. You know you're going to have to dramatically change your business. And that terrifies you because you do not know how to change a business that you are already in. It's one thing to start a new business. I love a startup. Startup, everybody's happy in a startup. We're starting up. We can do anything we want. And then you go talk to them in 6 months, and they're bitter. And I actually went to an office where I had made a joke at one point about smoking air cigarettes to calm down. And they actually started doing it in their office. So, I mean, they would tell the guys across from me, he's air smoking now. You know, it was like, wow, that's a sign you got big trouble. So the trick is, the issue with slammed is not about what's going on now, but how do I actually create change in a business? And when you've got slammed behaviors, you know what you say? We've got 2 new ideas we want to produce, that we want to roll out. And it's like, oh, hell no. Have you seen what I've got going on right now? You know? Or even worse, your staff is like, we need training. Nobody ever trains us. We have new stuff. We need training. We need training. Somebody send us some training. Finally, you get a staff meeting, your senior team. They've been bitching about training for years now. Throw some training at their head. Buy some training and whip it at their noggin. That'll shut them up. That's the way we think about training in advanced organizations. So you give them training, and then what do they say? We don't have time to go to training. What kind of a bonehead are you, Mr. Smarty Pants front office? What an idiot, man. We're busy down here in the trenches. We got stuff going on, man. We're task saturated. I'm smoking a pack a day of air cigarettes. You're welcome to use that gesture with your kids as well. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, the problem is not so much your business right now. Your problem is, how do I create capacity in my organization to do innovative and new and different things when people are already telling me they're at a red line level? And they are telling you that they're at a red line level. I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And I love it when people cry and shake at the same time when they say it. I just can't, because they're just at their wits' end. Cortisol flowing. So your culture gets screwed up. And when your culture gets screwed up, you got big, big trouble, because culture is what it is all about. This place is going to succeed. Southern Oregon is going to kick butt because you're developing a culture of compassion. You're developing a culture of interdependence. You're developing a culture where you don't let people fail here. You help them and you support them and you raise them up. Magnificent. Love it. But when your culture is sour, nothing you can really do about it. First of all, the culture is going to be there. If you want to change your culture, you really have to change the way you talk. I'm going to add one more thing to that. You also have to change the way you act and behave. New research shows that just talking isn't enough. It's really about what's showing up in the behavior that changes culture. But the language is the first step. How we talk about what we do is super important. And it doesn't matter what kind of new business strategy or innovation you've got. If your culture is task-saturated and slammed, you are going to go nowhere. So the trick here is, when being slammed creates a toxic environment for your culture, that's where the big trouble goes. That's where we really end up in a bad space. What's my time to finish exactly? 18 minutes. All right, here we go. I like that, exactly. 18 minutes and 7 seconds. All right, here we go. First is a big word, heuristics. Heuristics is a big word, and I'm throwing it out intentionally because I want you to learn and understand and appreciate this big word. Heuristics speak to the assumptions that we bring to any set of behaviors. So when you are going to go grill something, there is a heuristic in your mind around grilling.
You really have 45 minutes, yeah. I was mistaken.
Oh, okay, very good. It's all right. Fortunately, I didn't take this other medication that I have here. But, so, heuristics is an important value, because what a heuristic is it's this set of assumptions and ideas that characterize a whole set of behaviors. So, for example, crossing the street. You have a heuristic about crossing the street, a set of rules, knowledge, and assumptions that you bring to bear every time you cross the street. And to the degree that your heuristic is an accurate one, you are still alive, right? And you have successfully crossed the street many, many times, and each time you do, you gain a little more confidence in your heuristic until you go to London. Has anybody been to London recently and crossed the street? It's a whole different thing, because your heuristic is wrong. The heuristic here is, that cars are going to be driving one way and not the other, and in London it's exactly backwards. And now they have, for idiot Americans and others, painted on the gutters, "Look the other way." Have you seen that in London? It's like, right, that's the car coming that way. Isn't that interesting? So the reason I'm bringing up heuristics is, if you're a golfer, you're going to appreciate this, because you have a golf heuristic, right? You have a sensibility about what constitutes good golf. And so, to the degree that you want to win a golf match, buy your opponent a lesson before the match. Because what does that pro do? That pro goes, "Well, I can tell you right now, your swing is crap. We're going to have to work on that. It's going to take weeks. Look at your elbow. Look at your elbow." And you're like, "Look at my elbow? What the hell? Just look at it. And so now the rest of the day you're looking at your elbow. Your game is now gone, right? Because what he's done is he has decapitated your heuristic, your sensibility about what golf is supposed to be. And that is a big, big deal. So the first thing I'm telling you is, to get out of a slammed environment, you have got to check out the heuristics, the assumptions that you're using, the packaged set of beliefs that you bring to your job. Because the problem that is making you slammed is in that algorithm. And what I will tell you is that practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent, right? So that heuristic is now baked into your head, and breaking it basically breaks everything else. So people don't want to screw around with that stuff. That's why even small amounts of organizational change make normally happy people get like angry, they're like little mean dogs. When you're like, I just want to move them. No, don't move it. Because anything is going to create a change in that overall piece. But that's where the problem is. So we've got to get into that. We'll get back to interdependence in just a second. But heuristics is a big, big deal. Now, I don't know if you play chess. I'm a chess guy. I play chess against computers a lot. Never win, right? But this is a number that came out of a book that I liked very much. So you look at the chessboard, and when you first look at the chessboard, roughly 200,000 possibilities. And reasonably speaking, you could drop that down to probably about 100 reasonable openings for any chess game. But there's a lot of possibilities there. But once the first move has happened, then it's game on. And this is the second reason that we move into a slammed life cycle. The first one has to do with the cultural and the heuristics associated with the job. The second one is that the minute we move off of square one, the complexity of our work environment goes up at a radical level. I mean, a huge level. And as we start talking more and more about big data, how many of us are having conversations about big data or bringing data in or using better dashboard? We need a dashboard. I need 7 dashboards. I need them in my eyeballs all the time. I need dashboards. And we need big, big data. Where's my economist? Is he still here? There he is. Man, this guy, structural equation modeling, he does this for fun. When I pass this life and go to hell, okay, it's a possibility, I'm working it out, I'll be in a structural equation modeling class. That's what will happen. And it will never end. But what that is that's bringing more. So if you're a Walmart store, one of the ways they calculate profitability for a Walmart store involves the weather. So the weather is actually a variable set in the calculation of the and it makes good sense, doesn't it? Because if it's iced up half the year and people can't get there, it's going to change your overall profitability. But you're integrating the weather with financial data. That's a big, big deal. So here's the thing. You're going to be in a more slammed cycle moving forward because we are bringing data to bear in our jobs in ways we never did before. And at this point in America, most of us are doing a god-awful job of packaging that data in a way that makes it actually consumable and usable. I mean, I would look at your charts and go, that's fascinating. I think that's really interesting. But you did a good job of explaining what the blue dot and the gray dot and the blue line and all that meant, so you were making it clear. But what we're doing is we're putting that kind of data in front of employees, but we're not doing it. Now let me ask you a question. Would you rather play blackjack with 1 deck of cards or 3 decks of cards? Thank you, young gamblers. You would rather play with 1 deck of cards. Why? Because you can begin to count the cards. You can begin to sort it out. So here's what we know. You're not trustworthy people. That's the first thing. Second thing we know is a truth that is counterintuitive, but if you buy into this, it will save your bacon in the future. And it is this. As we add information into a system, we increase the entropy. Entropy being the tendency for things to fall apart, become disarrayed, and generally create air smoking. Think about it. As we introduce information into a system, we increase the entropy. We increase the uncertainty. We increase the likelihood that people will be unsure and lack confidence in their decision. And the whole damn reason we're bringing the data in the first place is to not do any of that. What we want to do is we want to increase confidence. We want to increase decision speed. But unless we have really gone back to this other word and integrated the data in the heuristic of what our business is, we are going to just go, hi, welcome to our business. Here are all the charts and graphs that are important and that you're going to be evaluated on. And now I'm going to repeatedly poke you in the eye for about an hour. And that's what it's like. when people put a bunch of data out there and they don't do anything with it in a way that actually makes it work. I don't know about you, but I've been freaked out by the calorie counts on the menus when you go buy fast food. What do you guys do? Do you actually change what you're going to eat, or do you go 800 glorious calories of love going down the gullet right now? I'm actually happy to know that I'm overeating in one meal. I mean, does the data change the way you behave? Some? Depends on if you're task saturated. If you're task saturated, bring the calories. I want twice the calories because I deserve it. All right, so do you get this point? One of the reasons that we're getting task saturated is because of the culture that we're in. The second reason that we're getting this sensibility is because we go way, way, way out of flow. Finally, we're in a place where we're adding more data, and so we freak out. And when we start freaking out, we move into a space of scarcity. And there's a wonderful book called Scarcity by a guy whose name is unpronounceable, but if you look it up on Amazon, you'll find it. It's a terrific book. Anybody read the book? Okay, the gist of the book is super powerful. If you're in banking, it's a must-read. There's 2 or 3 chapters that talk about decision-making and scarcity associated with money. The first chapter of the book opens up with a discussion about, in World War II, they took conscientious objectors in the United States, people that didn't want to go kill people, but they still wanted to help the war effort. And what was happening was Allied troops were liberating towns in Eastern Europe, and they were finding hundreds and hundreds of people who were starving in the town. So they'd march into the town, and there's like people that haven't eaten anything really in 6 months. And so they're radioing back going, what do we do? We've got chocolate bars. Do we give them chocolate bars? Do we give them our rations? How do we take care of these people that are starving? Well, they did some research. They put people at Stanford University and did conscientious objectors, and they starved them. They actually studied what happens to people when we take away food for extended periods of time. And it must have been just this crazy experience to be in like a dorm at Stanford starving. But that's what they were. And what they found was that as the people starved, they became obsessed with food, but they started making really poor decisions about food. Same thing happened with money. As you take away money from a person, their logic and decision cycles around money start getting more and more stupid. And it doesn't matter if you were rich. It doesn't matter if you were, the king of the world. When they start taking away your money, your decision-making power goes down, 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 down. Fascinating kind of thing, because we're operating from a sense of scarcity. And what happens with the slammed environment is it sneaks in and it bites us in a place we didn't expect it. This is the double whammy of slammed-hood right now. The terror of this is, and this is what we found in our research, was it was not just that people were slammed at work. We found out they are slammed at home as well. And they're slammed at home as well because of the damn phone that they're carrying around in their pocket all the time. You're going to get in the car, and you're going to take a break. You're going to walk out there, check it all out. Yes, I know, Junior puked. I know, I heard already. It's on Facebook. I know, I saw it. It's right there. I've had it. 17 people have already called me about, is he okay? And I was like, I don't know. That's a true story, by the way. It's like, look at our son vomiting. Isn't that cute? There he is on Facebook. Hi, wave. Yeah, there you go. So what we're finding is that you get slammed at work, and there's a good likelihood that you're slammed at home. And when you're slammed at home, it's a super toxic environment because you just can't make it work, can't make it happen. All right. So we figured out that with scarcity, that as time gets constrained, our decision-making gets constrained, we start making poor decisions. We're making poor decisions, and guess what? We're going to add a whole bunch of data on top of this, right? And so do you see how it's piling on? It's like a baklava of stress that sort of sneaks up on you, and you're not even aware of it. And then when it finally happens, you're in a meltdown mode. You're in a space of like, I just can't take it anymore. So what we tried to do was to come up with a way to solve not only that problem, but to really begin thinking about how the organization as a whole can deal with this problem. So the first thing I'm going to suggest at an individual level is that when you are in a scarcity space, you need to acknowledge it and you need to immediately get support. Ask for help was one of the things that we talked about today. Absolutely. One of the key things you need to do as an individual is when you find yourself moving into this space, break it by asking for help. The other thing that we found out, and I'm not going to steal my thunder from the conclusion too much, but this is a big piece, is what we found out was that it's not about working 80-hour weeks. We talked to a lot of people that were working 80-hour weeks that were thrilled, happy, vibrant, kicking butt. They loved it. You know why? Because they gave a darn about what they were doing. They believed that what they were doing was significant. They believed it was making an impact. They wouldn't want to do anything else. So it turns out that being slammed has very little to do with the actual work volume that is on people. It's really about how that work is characterized and positioned and experienced by the individuals doing it. If I called you and I said, I want you to do an ACE training at 3 this morning for 9 people, you'd be, I'll be there. I won't be happy, but I will be there. But you would, right? I mean, because that's what you do. You can't not do that. That's about what it's all about. So the first thing I want to unplug on the individual level is this idea that too much work makes you slammed. No. You are slammed because you have somehow lost your magnetic compass of what is important in your life. It's as simple as that. And all you need to do to get it back is to get that recalibrated. Why am I doing this again? Why is this important? Right? And if that can't be answered effectively in your organization, then you got a big problem. But at the organizational level, we wanted to get a little more clear. So the first thing I'll tell you is a story that was told to us, and this is in the book. It's in roughly the middle of the book. A story was told to us by federal judge Ann Aiken in Eugene. She tells us the story, and I pick up the story as she's driving a car, and I'm in the passenger seat, and she's telling the story, and she's driving like a crazy person, which means that when you're a federal judge, you don't worry about law enforcement. So she's driving along, and she goes, okay, it's like Oregon. It's a pretty day. Are you with me? Are you with me, Randy? Pay attention, Randy. Are you with me? Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to vomit, okay? And she's driving. Okay, it's a beautiful day in Oregon, and there's 2 fishermen, and they're out in the stream. They're out in the stream, and they're fishing, and I don't know what they're doing. They're fly fishing, and they're wearing all that stuff. They're wearing waders, and they're fly fishing. It's a beautiful day. Are you with me, Randy? It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in Oregon. It's a beautiful day in Oregon. That's right, and the river is there, and it's beautiful, and then somebody sees a basket floating down the river. Goes and they grab the basket. Look in the basket. There's a baby in the basket. Holy crap, there's a baby in the basket. It's like Moses. Oh, my God. There they go. They take him over to the side. There's a baby. Oh, little. They're having a moment, and they go, and they look, and there's another basket coming out, and they go out, and they wade out there, and they catch another basket, and they put it over there, and then they look upstream again, and oh my God, there's 2 more baskets, and then 4 more baskets, and pretty soon they're just taking babies out of the river as quick as they can. There's another baby, get him with your leg. I got him with my leg, got him with the leg, move it over there, there's baskets. They're freaking out. And then finally one guy puts his baskets down and he takes off running. And the guy standing in the river trying to catch babies is going, where'd you go, what are you doing? And he's going, I'm running upstream to see who's putting these babies in the river in the first place. That is the end of the story. I do not know why. The babies were there. No one was ever apprehended, to my knowledge. But I've thought about it a lot. I want to make a movie, The Babies in the River. But what Ann Aiken told me at the conclusion of that story was, she looked at me with really kind of crazy, steely eyes, and she said, when you find an employee that has the guts to stop what they're doing and go upstream to find out where the real problem is, that employee is golden. That employee has the strategic impulse. And you got to know it takes big courage to stop saving babies, right? To figure out what the real problem is. Most of us would, I have a new system for saving the babies as they come down. You stand over there and we'll create a thing where we do, look, we're saving more babies more efficiently now. Never having the thought to go freaking look upstream and see why they're coming into the water in the first place. Are you with me? So the first thing I want you to understand is that the solution to task saturation at a cultural level is almost always upstream from the people actually doing the work. And that's what this model shows us. So we have this upstream, downstream model, very simple. Upstream implying strategic, downstream implying tactical. We put a 2x2. The whole world can be categorized in a good 2x2, as all scholars know. Business as usual is down there on the bottom. That's all the stuff we're already committed to. That's all the clients we already have. It's everything we're already doing. And you know what? We're task saturated. It's a lot of junk. But we also know, because we went to some futuring thing, that we have to change, and we're going to have to be different. We have to have big data, and we have to have dashboards, and we don't even know why. So let's start down here in the lower right-hand corner. Lower right-hand corner is business as usual. Downstream, this is the work getting done. Let's imagine you're a hamburger stand and you're selling hamburgers out the window. Hamburgers out the window, hamburgers out the window, hamburgers out the window. That's happening in that lower right-hand box. You with me? So we're going to call that execution. We're going to say that's where it's happening. So what is going on in the box to the left? What's going on in the upstream box? Business as usual, upstream. What's happening? Thank you. Okay, they're ordering the burgers. They're ordering the buns. They're making sure they're staffed. They're making sure they have cups. They're making sure that the health department's happy. They're making sure that there's a football game coming this weekend, and so they've triple ordered what they're doing. In other words, everything that's going on there is about engagement. It's about making things happen. One of my favorite stories about this comes to us from the Rogue Creamery. My wonderful friends up there making some of the world's greatest cheeses ever. And David Grimmel's told me the story that, and if you've ever talked to David Grimmel's, it's always an interesting experience. But I was like, hey, David, how are you? And he goes, well, I had an interesting experience where I was at a Rotary meeting, which are usually pleasant. And the gentleman that spoke to me told me that, and he was a gentleman that I got almost 100% of our organic milk from. He told me that, well, some organization in San Francisco had just purchased all of the organic milk for the next 2 years. So he would not be able to supply me with my organic milk. And I learned this at a Rotary meeting, which are normally so pleasant. So I don't know if you know this, but if you go to Grants Pass now, and you go out back a little bit, there is a dairy out there with robotic milking going on. Have you seen this? If you haven't, it's worth the price of admission. The fact that a cow can decide when she wants to be milked is just cool. Because I can imagine being the cow. Yeah, geez, man, I think I'm going to go get milked. You know, I just think that's just cool. You know, she saunters up there and the machine's like, hello, welcome. And she gets a little car wash while she's there, a little snack. Thank you very much, as I'm getting milked. This is fabulous. It's like a spa for cows, for heaven's sakes. But the whole reason that is out there is because of that Rotary meeting. Because David, for all of his gentle, warm wonderfulness, was like, that will never happen again. I will never be without a good supply of organic milk. So he's living in that box right there. He's like, not going to happen. I'm going to own it. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to control. That is about going upstream, right? That's what that is. That's that instinct. Holy cow. So, engagement. It's like the airport. It's like the airport. You and me, brother. So, now this next opportunity upstream. How many of you have gone to an off-site meeting to talk about the future, right? Yeah, isn't that the best? And sometimes you'll hire a consultant, and the consultants, we're going to have 700 pieces of paper taped to the wall with all these exciting things, and we're going to have paper everywhere, and it'll be fat. That's the way you'll know you've done things. And you know what else we're going to do? We're going to eat 9,000 calories worth of food every day that we're here because the hotel forces it on us. Have you been in that terror of food? Welcome to breakfast. After breakfast, snack. Lunch. After lunch, snack. And the snacks are like build your own sundae with pizza toppings. And you're like, what? No. Drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Dinner. I just went through the day and I was like, yeah, that's 71,000 calories I've had today. That's all there is to it. But it helped us to put all this crap on the wall, so I feel good about it. So you've got 971 things on the wall, and you're feeling pretty good. We're going to do this, and we're going to be more digital, and we're going to be more streamlined, we're going to be more efficient, and we're going to be better at everything. And it'll be great because we're going to be so smart. And then you leave, and you drop right back down into that lower right-hand box on Monday. And you come back on Monday, and it's like, oh my God, it's guns and knives around here. To hell with all that stuff we wrote on the wall. Just hang on and get your head down and do work and never breathe again. And everything, and people are like, do you want me to type up? No, don't even, to hell with that. We don't even, it was a totally worthless experience. The idea that we can actually do something with that planning is inconceivable. And while you were gone on that, all of your employees were glad you were gone, by the way. They were thrilled. And they had a little meeting. They were like, all right, they went on an off-site. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to come back. They're going to have ideas. Just smile and nod, man. Just smile and nod. It'll go away. Usually takes a couple of days. If she actually types the stuff up, it'll take a week. But otherwise, it's still gone. So, you're in this discovery phase. What we're finding in high-performing companies is that the magic box is the one in the upper right. The upper right says, you know what, let's take those 5 ideas and move it down to 2, and let's take those 2 ideas and pop it over here and actually develop those ideas in kind of a skunk works. Let's do some prototyping. Let's actually think about this. I want to send 6 people, and I want to give you guys 10 hours a week for 2 weeks to come up with a prototype of how we can change our restaurant, how we can change our branch, how we can change the application process for our members or our customers, right? Whatever that is, figure that out and test it. Let's see. And you know what? It might not work, and that'd be okay. Low cost, no problem, ding, didn't work. That's all right. We want to figure that out. It might be that the idea was really good, but not exactly right. That's okay too. This is the #1 capability that an organization needs to develop right now. If you do not have the capacity to do prototyping, skunk works, testing and development of new ideas and products that are offline, low cost, super quick. I'm talking about 1 week, 2 week flips. I'm not talking about 6-month prototyping. I'm talking about super fast. Is it even worth going forward or not? Then if it is good, what you do is you go from development down to engagement. Okay, you take it to your senior leaders there and say, would this work? How would it work if we actually roll this out? Let's roll it out at 1 location or 2 locations. And then finally you roll it out into execution, and then the process moves on. We found that that is the magic that really makes it happen. And when you start talking about all those measures, the measurement really comes down here in what we're actually doing so that it's got street cred. Your measurements have to be legitimate to the work that people are actually doing. How am I doing on time? 4 or 5 minutes? And that includes Q&A? No? Okay, fabulous. Okay. Does this make sense? It's in the book. This is the burger and the bun here, okay? If you actually take this and sit down and walk through this chart with your team members at a pizza lunch and just ask them, what are we doing well in the execution box and what are we not doing well in the execution box? Do that Navy SEAL debriefing thing right there. What's working, what's not? That's all you need to do. What's working, what's not? What's working, what's not in terms of how management is helping you to get your job done and to serve our customers in the best possible way? What's working, what's not? And your mind will be blown at what your team members start to tell you. What we found is that you can unwind a lot of the grudge work. And this is what we found, is that task saturation and being slammed is really something that is a recoiling, a separation, a source of grudge work. I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do the minimum that I have to do. That's the way they start thinking about it, and they start closing themselves off more and more and more and more and more. And you can unwind it just by having a strong conversation about what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we can do it better. So use this thing. Use the baby story. The baby story is important for some reason because what it does is it begins to celebrate the idea that it's okay for you to not spend your time thinking about a better way to flip the burger. Maybe there's a better way to solve the whole problem. It really identifies the opportunity for people to step up and say, well, truly, if we really wanted to fix this problem, here's what we do. So I'm going to go down to San Francisco. There was a financial institution, a community bank that had moved into a different part of the city of San Francisco, and they were in a nice lease space location until they found out that there was an alley behind their bank, and that alley was one of the best places to shoot heroin in all of San Francisco. And so on a daily basis, people were arriving at work and finding God knows what in terms of people in various states of doom and decay, and just really bad. And so they had a big meeting among their senior managers about what to do about it. And so what you might imagine what some of the things were that they decided to do. We're going to get a guard with guns, and a mean-spirited guard with guns, somebody, an angry, unstable guard with guns outside is what we want. Fences were discussed. I'm sure walls probably were discussed. And finally, somebody said, well, you know, if we fence that off, they're just going to move somewhere else. So why don't we just solve the problem? And it was a game-changing moment for this bank. And the bank has since been sold. Unfortunately, their shareholders didn't give a damn about any of that. But it was, for the bank, it was an amazing moment, because all of a sudden they became a part of the community. All of a sudden they started doing things that were like, well, let's get involved with the people that are doing drug interdiction around here. And it turned out there was a whole infrastructure that was ready and willing to help them if they just raised their hand and said, hey, we need a little help down here. And while it never turned into Disney World behind their bank, it certainly turned into a place that they could come to work every morning and feel comfortable. And all of that happened because one person had the guts and the courage to say, let's solve this problem upstream just a little bit. And I think that's the thing that's so exciting to me now about what's going on in Southern Oregon right now, is I see you guys solving problems upstream, talking about early childhood education and childhood trauma as a way to turn around an entire community and culture in a community. Magnificent, absolutely mind-blowing. And the kind of work that you're doing to develop a new tier of employees here, brilliant. The idea that affordable housing is going to be critical to whatever your success is going to be moving forward. This is especially true if we have agriculture people in the room who are going to tell us that we depend on the opportunity to have people here seasonally and so forth, but it's so difficult when the cost of housing is high. So you guys you're grabbing the brass ring at a strategic level, and that's why you should legitimately be pleased with what's going on here. This isn't the normal hot air horse crap that passes for a business conversation in a community where we're all really just trying to figure out how we can get more of the pie and screw the other person. I don't hear that at all. It's about, let's grow the pie. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it better for everybody. And this silly little model will help you because it will generate ideas and allow you to move it through in a way where people can make it work. All right. Yes, we did that. All right. Zooming in on a conclusion here. The number one thing that occurs when you're slammed that we found in the book is that people describe themselves as being alone. They find themselves, nobody understands what they're doing, nobody appreciates what they're doing, nobody knows how much is involved with what it takes to do what they're doing. They feel underappreciated, underloved. One of the things that we've heard from the other speeches is that you can begin to change all of this with that 1 second intervention, 1 second communication. I'm going to invoke a little bit of bad science here. There is a bit of science called the Losada line, L-O-S-A-D-A, the Losada line. Look it up if you're a nerd and you want to. But Losada was a scholar who tried to understand how cultures and communication actually interact. And he came up with a number based on his research that the ratio of positive communication to negative communication or even neutral communication in an organization to make the organization positive was 3.213 or something like that, 3.312, somewhere right in there. So I have to say roughly 3 1/3 positive things for every neutral thing I'm going to say for the organization to actually wind up being positive. And for most managers, we're doing pretty good to be 1-to-1. Really. I mean, think if you, and I like to think I'm like all that in a bag of chips as a manager. I'm not. But I like to think I'm a pretty positive guy, and when I bring in the Lasada line into my head, I'm never there. It's almost hard to say that much nice stuff to people. I mean, without it sounding disingenuous, you know? I mean, oh, you look great. You're fabulous. I like your glasses, and yes, you have teeth. Yes, thank you. I don't know. But, so there are people that debate the Lasada line, but I think the gist of it is accurate. The gist of it is that we have to communicate to that person, I appreciate what you're doing. I know that for you to get that done, you were probably up all night getting that done. And it turns out that's critical because we're about to walk into the board of directors right now, and that's going to mean our budget for the next year or 2 years. So that was huge. You've got to connect the dots for people, and you've got to do it in a positive way, and you can't let up for even a minute. I love it if you walk into Southwest Airlines Human Resource Department down in Arizona. You walk in there, and there is a big, I've seen a picture of it, I haven't seen it in person. There's a big sign. I would guess it is maybe 18 feet high by 12 feet wide, and it is in black and white letters, and it is behind the main desk of Human Resources, and it says, "We don't hire people who suck." That's Southwest right there. All the HR policies in the world, just don't hire people who suck. And so I was really interested in that. And they actually operationalized what it means to suck. They can tell you exactly what it means to be a sucky person. And for them, a sucky person is somebody who walks in the room and everybody else in the room goes, "Oh, God. She's here. She's here." That is a person who sucks. Because they suck your energy, they suck your will to live, they suck your positivity. I don't know how they do it. They're supervillains at sucking, a lot of these people. Some people, you think they're going to be great, and then they suck, and that's double bad, right? I thought you were good, but you actually are really a sucky human being. And so what we're finding when we really look at operationalizing the suck factor for people, it is people that do not offer that positive regard. They don't support the professional face of the person they're dealing with. Face is a Japanese term. It speaks to the positive regard we claim for ourselves in a particular situation. I do not golf, and were I to go on a golf course and you were to humiliate me, I would enjoy it with you because I obviously don't golf. I have no regard that I want to claim golf-wise. I do noodle on a guitar, and it would be bad for me if somebody like Alex, who's an amazing guitarist, looked at me and went, "Dude, you play like a caveman. Dude, that would be bad because I respect him, right? And he's nailing me for something that I actually would like to get some positive regard for, right? So people that suck are people that come in and they take that positive regard that you have for yourself. And it is almost as simple as that. It's just about that simple. If you've never heard him play the guitar, you should. He's an animal. He gets his leather pants on. Incredible things happen. So what we have to do is when we find people being isolated, and leaders are the ones that do this a lot because we stop delegating. I don't know what happens. Have you had this experience? You're leading, and then it starts getting complicated, and it's like, it's just easier for me to do it. It's just easier for me. Stay away. Just don't touch it. I'll just do it. And then you get all heroic. I'm just going to do it. Nobody else is going to do it because they can't do it. Because and then the a-hole factor just goes up by... That's a technical term. Feel free to write that one down. So what we know, and I'm going to go, we've already said this all through the past, the big win here is that you break this down when we are interdependent. We break this down when we start really deeply interacting with one another. I am thrilled to be working right now on 4 strategic plans for large financial institutions in the United States that are changing their upper management structure, the organizational structure, to be much more interdependent so that there's not this kind of fiefdom going on between marketing and lending and so forth. Big changes, and it's paying huge dividends, and it's paying them quickly. And so how do we do that? Well, what we do is we break it down into time. If you get into the book, time is a big deal. And what we will tell you is that time management is not the solution. When somebody tells you they can unslam you with time management, they're lying. It's brutal. You're just, I'm going to get charts and graphs. What are they doing? It's not going to help. It doesn't help. And these are sometimes people that you should tell to go away. But what we do want to do is use time. One of the things that Colleen said was the rhythm of the business. Use the calendar. Every January we do this. Every February we do that. In March we always have the consumer data come through. In June we always have our strategic planning meeting. And that's it. And you build the rhythm of the business. And that becomes sacrosanct. That is powerful, because then people can begin to key to those key rhythmic things. Next thing we do, we set up projects, and we set up the project with a specific behavioral result, what we want to achieve from it. Endless projects are Satan. They must stop. They cause this. You must have a project that has an end, not state, as in we get this thing done, but an end date. The date is the key. People can stand on their head for 30 days, but they can't do it for 30 years. So what we want to do is we want to have everything in short chunks. And I typically love to say, if we're going to roll out a new thing, I'm going to have you guys work for the first 60 days getting everything ready to go. And then before we even launch it, and we're going to launch it in 90 days, you're going to hand it off to this team. You're not going to take it to launch. I'm going to stop you at 60 days, and I'm going to make sure. So what does that make them do? It makes them make sure that every single thing that they can do can be handed off to these people over here, right? Otherwise, they become kings of the world. First Navy SEAL that worked for us, Steve Alberg, in Fortune magazine said, having a high-performance team in your office is a little like getting a tiger cub for Christmas. They're cute and cuddly, and a year later they will eat your children, okay? And it's true, because the very first thing that's going to happen when this team begins to bond is when you bond at the expense of the larger culture. When you bond, you go, we're all that in a bag of chips, and they suck. Over there, accounting, because that's a natural thing that happens with a team. So what I'm going to do is take you to that point, and I'm going to shut it off. Boom. Now you have to hand it off. And your success, if you've handed off a piece of crap, then guess what? You're in big trouble. But if you've handed off something they can pick up and run with, now we're cooking. And so it's all based on dates. If you start using the dates, you will end task saturation cycles, because everybody can hang on for 3 weeks, 6 weeks. As long as there's an end date, they know it's going to be done. They can hang on. I can't tell you how important that little nugget is. Comes to us from the U.S. Navy SEAL teams. If they go out and they do an op and they come back, they're the greatest team in the world. As soon as they get back, they're disbanded and split up and put with other teams. Because those people will get dangerous to themselves and others if they start continually operating with one another. They roughly have a 2.5-year cycle of operating as a unit before they're broken up. And that's why they're a team. You're a team guy. You're a team guy. That's right. You're just going to be a team. So the first thing to say is make sure that the result is clear. Make sure that it is focused, time limited, and developmental. Developmental meaning get comfortable doing stages with work. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Phase 1, we're only going to do these 2 things, and we're going to do that, and that's going to take us through June. So all this other crap you're talking about, super important, but we're going to stay focused on these 2 things. Your ability to have that discipline as a leader and stay focused on that thing is critical. This is where I suck, because I'm very interested in every shiny object that's out there. Oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Stop. Focus. Stay focused. That's key. This is it. You can climb the mountain if you can do it in stages, and you make sure that you don't slide all the way back down the mountain every time you stop. If you want to know more about this, one of the best books I've ever read comes to us from a book called Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. If you haven't read it, read it. If you haven't got an MBA and you read this book, you'll be smarter than the MBAs, because it does a beautiful history of management science in the book, along with an understanding of how to generate high-performance team environments in your organization. And guess what I'm telling you? High-performance team environments in your organization are critical to defeating task saturation cycles. General McChrystal's book is magnificent because it really breaks down, how do I create high-performance team environments? Super simple. You start with 2. You don't start with building teams. You start with, you two are going to now be in charge of that project. If you succeed, great. If you fail, great. You're going to fail as a pair. You're going to succeed as a pair. Don't come to me and say he's an idiot because I don't care. You two are now a pair. And you two are now a pair. And then next time I come around, then you two are going to be a pair, and you two are going to be. So I start moving pairs, 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 and then guess what? After about 6 months of that, I can move fours. And now you're beginning to build teams. Navy SEALs have a very specific concept. If I can't work with one other person, I certainly can't be a good team member. If they can't work in twos, there is no way in hell you want them on a team. If they can't work in twos, shoot them out of a cannon. They are toxic. They suck at that point. Right? If they can't have a swim buddy, no good. Start off with swim buddies. Then you go to 2-pair, 3-pair, and then you've got a team culture. When I told the SEALs that work for us, we want you to help teach organizations how to do team culture, they go, that'd be easy. We could do that in an hour. Because for them, it's just like, why is this hard? But it's critical. Finally, what I want to say as we wrap this up is task saturation is something that is deadly. And it destroys productivity. It ruins careers. It's serious business. And when Carmen and I went to try and solve the problem, we realized we were way out of our depth. But what we did find was organizations that are working hard to beat it. And it is beatable. And when you do, you get all those benefits that come from having a nice, healthy organization as well. So with that, I thank you very much for inviting me back down here. And I can take some questions.
How's Microsoft today?
Microsoft today is better than ever. You know, since Satya came on board, I've seen a huge difference in that organization. People are much more generative. They're much more optimistic, aggressive. I give them a, you know, they still have their problems. I mean, the big problem is they brought in like 450 companies merged in the last like 4 years. So who knows what Microsoft even is anymore. But that said, I think the leadership is better than ever. Other questions?
Greg, I had the great privilege of serving on the initial board at Southern Oregon University. And so I've learned now about a concept called co-governance.
Co-governance.
Yeah.
Speak more.
In a university setting, of course, you have a number of interest groups that all have their seat at the table. And our goal is we want to be the university of the future. So what do we need to do that in an environment of co-governance, i.e. everyone thinks they should at least be talked to or
it's a great question. So one of the things I'm doing right now with strategic planning sessions is we're actually doing pre-sessions before the planning session where we're bringing in representatives from partners and other key groups that are associated with the business. For example, if you were a bank, it might be your key data processor or maybe your Visa card processor or somebody like that, and having that strategic conversation come in. So we're seeing this happen everywhere. It's happening in business.
Do you think employers are actually being listened to by universities relative to what they want? I mean, we heard a little bit with Todd.
You know, employers are not stupid people, and when they hear something that actually makes sense, they're going to jump all over it. And this idea of actually incorporating a much bigger strategic horizon in their planning cycles is something that is becoming more popular. The trick is that when you're in that narrowed capacity, it's like the last thing you want is more input. But that's actually what you need. And it will bite you in the butt later if you don't have it. Here, you need this. You need that? This is a we give out shirts every year. This one is actually politically okay. This says, I overthink, therefore it depends. Is that for you? Okay. I don't do girl size as well. These things look like I couldn't even get my leg in that. I mean, I don't know. There you go. Any more questions? Yes.
Hi, Randy, Preston here. I appreciated your presentation.
Thank you.
I took probably notes that I won't understand later.
That's
so
great.
That's good.
The day is
That's
mine.
important. I'm thinking for you put this together. So when do you realize that you're slammed? Do you have a stop? Do you go, oh, the slammed light's on. I need to stop. I need to pause. I need to do X, Y, Z.
You know, it's a wonderful question. I was telling Colleen before lunch, I had a little crisis at Christmas because I had gone through August, September, October, just running like a man shot from a gun in terms of travel and work. And I kept saying, I'm going to take off between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I didn't have a whole lot of work scheduled at that time, but because I was so busy before, all these other appointments got scheduled then, everything from like personal medical, dental, all that stuff starts, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't seem like fun. And then other family members, most of whom I like, several of whom I don't, showed up at my house. And so basically at Christmas, I basically realized that I had been putting off. I'd been trying to be a camel, and say, oh, I'll have all my relaxation here. And then when I got to that point, it didn't manifest itself, and I was in a crisis state. And I'm still kind of working through it. What I'm trying to do right now is to get healthy. I'm trying to sleep. I'm trying not to eat junk. I'm, trying not to drink bad things, and that's helping me a lot. But I mean, no, I am just as, I get sucked into this vortex so easily and so fast. And plus, you feel like a lot of us from my generation, we want to be heroes. We want to feel like we're heroes. I'm going to do this thing, and I'll stay up all night. And it's like, you know what? That's just dumb. And it doesn't help anybody, and so no, I'm the worst. I need to read the book. All right, I think that's it. Thank you so much, friends. Oh, yay, thank you very much. Goodies. They're edible. They are. Southern Oregon, man. You guys do the food and the wine. Sin and wickedness down here. Oh, I bet you want to keep this. Thank you. She's a wonder, isn't she? Yeah. Just, you guys ought to be.
Thank you. Thank you again, Randy. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Just a couple closing remarks real quickly. So again, thank you to all the sponsors and all of you for being here, because we always say it, but it's true that it just doesn't happen without you. And we hope that you've taken something away from today that you're going to apply immediately. You can't just hear it, you have to take action, and that was something that I learned for myself recently. So take a step back, get some rest, discover your own best rhythm of business and livelihood. Be intentional and take time. Please, the very first thing that Randy said was to recognize that you're slammed. So that's an important first step. Real quickly, just want to tell you a little bit about our next event coming up on April 19th in Ashland. And this is our first annual Launch and Tech Startup Symposium. We have 3 great speakers. Here's the lineup. Mary Hebert is coming from Phoenix, Arizona. She's a site consultant who will present on how communities can attract and retain tech companies and tech professionals. We are asked this all the time. Second speaker, Dara Mackin from SourceLink from Kansas City, Missouri. She's going to speak on creating ecosystems, especially for our entrepreneurs and the assets that go with that to connect our communities. And then thirdly, not completely confirmed yet, but we're very hopeful, is Vince Anawenter. He comes from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin School of Engineering, and he's invited to speak on rapid prototyping and building a center of excellence for manufacturers. It's a dynamic lineup. It's about a 3-quarter-day event. We want you to be there if you can make it. April 19th, Ashland Hills Inn in Ashland. So now it's your turn. Are you ready to take your turn? Take your first step. Get up, stretch, have a glass of wine, and join us for the Moss Adams reception. Thank you very much for being here today. Thanks for all that you do.